Good evening and thank you for staying with us right here on Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. My name is Esther Nwachukwu, and here are the top stories. Again, 45 killed in fresh Plateau attacks. In a very recent development, Genco is one of nationwide blackout as 4 trillion naira debt threatens power supply. Organized labor laments economic hardship to renegotiate new minimum wage. Rivers Administrator Ibas demands refund of 300 million naira from NBA over conference venue shift. In a very recent development as well, reacting to the U.S. order, Atiku disagrees as Presidency dismisses U.S. court order on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Meanwhile, PDP fixes date for National Executive Council meeting. National Convention gives Dewey Frontier others fresh appointment. Details now. Thank you for staying with us. Now, the news begins with this very unfortunate recent development where at least 45 people have been confirmed dead and many others injured following a brutal attack in Zike Kimakwe community in Kwara district of Irigwe Chiefdom Basa local government area of Plateau State. VP News understands that the attack, which occurred late Sunday night, has left the community in great devastation. Sources from the community revealed to online news medium that about 30 homes were also set ablaze by the rampaging gunmen. A local resident disclosed that the assailants invaded the area and began shooting sporadically, causing widespread panic and chaos. Danjuma Dixon Auta, the Secretary General of the Irigwe Development Association, confirmed the attack in a telephone interview, stating that over 45 bodies have been recovered so far, with the death toll still rising. He described the violence as a well-planned and coordinated assault on the community, suggesting that the attackers were organized and deliberate in their actions. The Plateau State government has strongly condemned the attack, describing it as unprovoked and alarming. Honorable Royce Ramnap, the State Commissioner for Information and Communication, called the incident one too many, adding that these series of attacks were posing an existential threat to the lives and livelihoods of the state's peace-loving residents. Also, in a recent development, Nigeria's 23 electricity generation companies have issued a stark warning that they may be forced to shut down operations as a result of the deepening financial crisis plaguing the power sector. According to them, the unpaid debts, which now exceed 4 trillion naira, have made it increasingly difficult to guarantee consistent electricity supply across the country. Operating under the umbrella of the Association of Power Generation Companies, the GENCO sounded the alarm in a statement released today. The message was endorsed by the chairman of the Board of Trustees, Colonel Sani Bello. The GENCO stressed that unless the government urgently intervenes, the growing debt and critical operational challenges could culminate in a complete shutdown of power generation facilities nationwide. They described the non-payment for electricity supply and consumed on the national grid as a dangerous trend, pushing Nigeria's already fragile power sector towards total collapse. In their statement titled, "Over 4 trillion naira unpaid invoices threaten GENCO's imminent shutdown," the group decried the federal government's failure to articulate a clear financial strategy for the sector. They also highlighted intensifying fiscal and operational issues within the Nigerian electricity supply industry. The GENCOs further criticized the Nigerian Bulk Electricity Trading PLC and other stakeholders for allegedly sidelining them in the implementation of the NESI's waterfall arrangement. Under the system, other service providers reportedly receive full payment, while GENCOs receive a measure 9% to 11% of what is owed. Meanwhile, Labour again has displayed its urge against the government, saying that despite the implementation of the national minimum wage across the 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory, concerns have been raised by stakeholders and labour unions regarding the high cost of living in Nigeria. Many workers are struggling to meet basic needs, with many unable to afford to feed their families. As revealed by data analysed recently by The Guardian, states have set an average minimum wage of 73,471 naira 43 kobo, which is 3,471.43 kobo higher than the federal government's minimum wage of 70,000 naira, representing a 5% increase. States like Akwa Ibom, Bayelsa, Delta, Enugu, Lagos, Niger, Oyo and Rivers are paying higher than both the federal government's wage peg and the national average. However, less than a year after the new wage law was introduced, inflation has eroded much of its value, leading to fresh agitation from stakeholders. Labour leaders are already setting their agendas for the 2027 renegotiation, citing that while the government made wage adjustments last year, these increases have been largely offset by inflation. With inflation hovering around 24%, nominal incomes have lost more than one-fourth of their value. The average minimum wage across states, which is 55,000 in real terms, is far below the intended value when the wage was set. Moving on to Rivers State, the government there has called on the Nigerian Bar Association to refund the 300 million naira allegedly paid for the hosting rights of the NBA's 2025 Annual General Conference. The state government, currently under the leadership of a sole administrator, Iboketa Iba, stated that if the NBA truly adheres to its principles, it should demonstrate integrity by returning the sum. The NBA's decision to move the 2025 AGC from Port Harcourt, Rivers State to Enugu was announced last Friday. The association cited constitutional violations in Rivers State following the imposition of a state of emergency. In a statement, the NBA described the current administration in the state as operating under a military-style rule that disregards constitutional provisions, court decisions, and pending litigation. The NBA stance reflects concerns about the suspension of Governor Sim Fubara, his deputy Governor Ngozi Udu, and all members of the Rivers State House of Assembly as part of the emergency rule declared by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Now, in response to the NBA's move, the Rivers State government issued a statement today accusing the association of overlooking the constitutional basis for the current administration in the state. The statement, signed by the senior special assistant on media to the Rivers State government, Hector, defended the declaration of emergency rule, describing it as a necessary response to a breakdown in public order and democratic processes. Now, the presidency just on Sunday waved aside any talk of fresh revelations emerging from a United States court order instructing the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the Drug Enforcement Administration to make public files on President Bola Tinubu's past investigation. It noted that the records, which goes back to a drug trafficking investigation in Chicago from the early 1990s, had been in the public domain for over 3 decades and posed no fresh concerns for the president. This followed a ruling by George Burrow Howell of the U.S. District Court in Washington, D.C., who instructed both agencies to conduct searches and process non-exempt documents in response to Freedom of Information Act. While the court decision shows that the FBI and the DEA must abide by Greenspan's FOIA submissions related to a Chicago-based narcotics ring from the early 1990s involving Tinubu and 3 others, Lee Andrew Edwards, Muiz Akonde, and Abiodun Agbele. The FBI and DEA have both officially confirmed investigations of Tinubu relating to the drug trafficking ring, the court stated, adding that privacy interests are outweighed by the public interest in the release of such information. While reacting to the development, the President's Special Advisor on Information and Strategy, Mr. Bayo Onanuga, said there is nothing new to be reviewed. The report by Agent Moss of the FBI and the DEA has been in public space for more than 30 years. The reports did not indict the Nigerian leader. Onanuga confirmed that government lawyers were reviewing the U.S. judge's ruling, arguing that the documents add no fresh dimensions to Tinubu's past. However, let's take a listen to one of the presidential aides, and that is Daniel Boala, reacting recently to this development and giving his own countenance from the presidency.
and we are focused on what we're doing, which is delivering on the promise, we felt that there is no need to distract from any conversation around 2027. The only set of people that are busy about 2027 are the coalition for a wild goose chase. The people that went to Buhari and wanted to misrepresent their visit. And President Buhari said, I want this conversation to be in camera. I don't want it to be anything closed door, so that Malam Nasir Rufadu should not go and say, I'm joining SDP or PDP. That is the fact as they are, So they are the ones that are busy with activities.
You're a politician now. You were not before, but now you are one.
Reply Alindu. This coalition that you're talking about, do they even belong to a party? This one say come to my own, this one say come to my own, this one say where this. That is why they are doing everything possible to clinch to anything that has to do with President Buhari, because they feel by doing that they will push an uptick. And I'm glad the way he gave them a pushback. Who else? Where else? Where are they going? Where are they coming from?
Have you heard that the CDC block?
Well, during that interview, Daniel Bala was able to specify that on May, very recently, there'll be a court ruling on that particular case, which will divulge whatever details needs to be divulged. 30 years ago, the case has been in the public eye, and that nothing different has occurred or been transmuted aside from whatever has been displayed via the internet. Well, this order, based on Judge Howell on April 8, instructs the FBI and DEA to institute searches and process any non-exempt documents in response to Freedom of Information Act request filed by an American legal researcher Aaron Greenspan. Greenspan runs a transparency platform named Plainsight. He submitted 12 FOIA requests between 2022 and 2023. His filing sought confirmation and information on the Chicago-based drug trafficking operation from the early 1990s, which included requests for records concerning the president and three others, Lee Andrew Edwards, Muiz Akonde, and Abiodun Agbili. Until now, the FBI and DEA had issued global responses refusing to confirm or deny the existence of the records, while the court ruled that such responses were not justified in this case. It noted that both agencies had effectively confirmed the existence of investigations involving Tinubu and must now proceed with releasing relevant materials unless they are legally exempt. Judge Howell stressed that any potential privacy concerns were invalidated by the public interest in the case. The ruling noted that the agencies refused to make available sufficient justification for withholding that particular intricate information. The FBI and DEA have both officially confirmed these investigations of Tinubu relating to the drug trafficking ring. Now, in this particular reaction, however, while the FBI and the DEA were ordered to comply with the request, the court upheld the CRA's decision to withhold records after Greenspan acknowledged the agency having valid grounds under existing laws. In that special interview, however, the special advisor to Tinubu on policy communication, Daniel Bala, via a monitor television program, noted that the information being sought wouldn't be different from what was already in the public domain. There is nothing actually that was published in the ruling of the court that is new. Everything has been in the public domain for ages. The former VP, however, in reaction noted that what it means is that the efforts of former Vice President Atiku Abubakar will not be in vain, and what will be uncovered is his attempt to ascertain exactly what transpired with the circumstances surrounding the forfeiture of thousands of dollars allegedly linked to drug trafficking. Moving on to political situations, the PDP Governors Forum has fixed August 28th, 29th and 30th, 2025 for its national convention to be held in Kano State. Well, in a very recent development, however, the communique indicated that the forum has resolved that working in conjunction with the National Working Committee and other relevant organs of the party to hold a National Executive Council meeting on the 27th of May, 2025. A zoning committee will address all issues relating to zoning of party offices and hold an early convention in August 2025, precisely on the 28th, 29th and 30th in the ancient city of Kano. You're currently listening to the World News right here on Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. We'll take a very short break. When we return, we'll head into a news analysis segment where we'll be looking at some of the issues read out here on the World News at 6. Do kindly stay with us. I'm being joined via the telephone with Barrister Fred Nzako. He's a political, national, and social affairs commentator. Barrister Fred Nzako, good evening and thank you for joining us today on the World News at 6. How are you? Barrister Fred, please, can you hear me?
Hello, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? All right, hold on. Can you hear me clearly now?
Now I can hear you.
Thank you very much, Barrister Fred. How are you today? Hello, sir.
I can't hear you again. What did you do then?
I didn't do anything, no. I think it's the cord. Can you hear me right now?
Yes, stop.
All right, very good. You can hear me now, right?
I can hear you now.
Thank you very much, Barrister Fred. Now, Plateau, one of the most scenic states in Nigeria, has been turned into a theater.
What is this now?
Can you hear me, sir? Hello, sir.
Is there something? Yes.
Can you hear me?
I can hear. When you are asking me whether I can hear you, yes, I can hear you. But when you start talking, I can't hear you.
All right, I'm talking now. Can you hear me talking now?
Manipulation of your console there or something.
All right, okay. Can you hear me properly now?
Okay.
All right. I said that Plateau is one of the most scenic states in Nigeria. It has been turned into a theater of sorrow, tears, and blood by Fulani terrorists. Very recently, there was an attack just last night in a community. More than 45 persons have been killed. And the situation that has called for questioning is that what exactly is going on with the situation specifically in Plateau State? Why is the incessant killings being part of what Nigerians will have to endure? For example, just last week, the Chief of Defense Staff, the National Security Advisor, they all went to visit Plateau State, Bako specifically, to have a visit or a scene surrounding scenery view of the area where these communal situations took place, where the terrorists killed a lot of people just 2 weeks ago, where about more than 100 persons were killed. And just yesterday or last night, we had more than about 45 persons have been killed in fresh attacks. Barrister Fred, what exactly is going on in the country? Hello, sir. Can you hear me, Barrister Fred? Okay, I'm going to have to place you on speaker now. Can you hear me, sir?
Hello, yeah, I can hear you.
All right, I think the problem is with the cord. Barrister Fred Nzako, I said that Plateau State has been a state embroiled in blood, sorrow, fear, panic, and despair. Just last week, or more before, yes, just last week, more than 100 persons died. And last night, about 50 bodies are being counted. There are still more updates. What is going on in the country, and why has a state of emergency not been declared there?
Well, that question is ideal for a sort of to answer, especially the Office of National Security Advisor, that it has gotten so bad that even the governor is unsure of the future of the state. Plateau State generally has been under siege for a long time, and it doesn't seem to have an end. So it is the duty of government to know what is going on in Plateau State and save the lives of the people. Today is Basa, next day is Bokos, the other day it will be just Township. And all, no part of Plateau State is free. Same way that most part of Benue State are under siege as well. And the accusing fingers are pointing in the same direction. It beats everybody's imagination that a government will sit idly by, and this magnitude of mayhem will be given to some people that obviously have done nothing wrong, apart from the fact that they are staying in their ancestral land. I do not just understand why and what is going on in Plateau State. We must ask questions from the National Security Advisor and from the Presidency.
Barrister Fred, the National Security Advisor just visited that state just last week. Nuhu Ribadu just visited that state last week, Barrister Fred. Are the lives of Nigerians a political chessboard for certain political bureaucrats while they are mapping out strategies for self-aggrandizement, personal influence, and the desperate grab for power? The national state of emergency has not been declared in the state. Insecurity has become the order of the day. 3 days ago, there was a bomb blast again in Borno State, this time by Islamic State terrorists. And we are here permutating about elections in 2027 while souls are being lost, properties destroyed, homes razed, and the hope of the Nigerian common man is in despair. At this point, what else can they do? You cannot protest because so far nothing has actually happened or occurred. So our security agencies have affirmed and assured us that they're able to handle insecurity despite calls for international collaboration in clearing out this menace. If that is the case, why are we experiencing this sustained onslaught on the lives of a lot of innocent Nigerians?
The governor of Borno State, Professor Omar Zulum, has said that there is a renewed resurgence of Boko Haram attack in Borno State. That there is a resurgence of Boko Haram and all forms of terrorist attacks in Borno and in Northeast and has extended to North Central. And the question is, why has state of emergency not been declared in those places? It's a very critical question that nobody has been able to answer, because the state where state of emergency was declared did not need such declaration. But the states that need such declaration, the federal government is avoiding to declare state of emergency in those places. What do we do, you are asking? What we shall do is to follow the advice of the Director General of State Security Services, SSS, who advised that communities should defend themselves. There is no need playing the ostrich anymore, that communities should defend themselves. He said it openly and emphatically, because Nigerian military and the police and other security apparatus of government will not be enough to man all the lands. But unfortunately, even where they are manning, there are still pockets of insecurity in those places. Why would there be up to 25 checkpoints between Onitsha and Enugu when there is not a single checkpoint between Abuja and Sokoto? No single checkpoint between Abuja and Kano. But between Onitsha and Enugu, a distance of less than 120 kilometers, you have 25 checkpoints. Between Onitsha and Owerri, you have up to 18 to 20 checkpoints. So what it now means is that there is a wrong application of force in the country. Yeah, what it means is that the people who are supposed to be working in the north, where there is terrible insecurity, are busy in the southeast collecting money on the road, dehumanizing the people by on frivolous excuses, and not giving even the comfort that they are expected to give. The Operation Python dance that was launched many years back, the Python is set up in the southeast. But go to northeast, go to north central, where you have massive insecurity. They are lamenting about inadequacy of security operatives. So another major thing that the government must do is to make maximum use of the men who are in charge of security of the country.
Are you saying that the president is not making maximum use of the men in charge of security?
A system where mobile policemen are sent to guard a few VIPs in the south or some other parts of the country is complete wrong application of the energies of the men in force. So that is even one aspect. When we are saying that we don't have enough, what is wrong with recruiting more? Anytime there is a call for recruitment, or anytime there is a move towards recruitment, it will be messed up by politics. The police recruitment, they say they will recruit 10,000 then under Muhammad Buhari's regime. How many of them have been recruited? Before you knew it, the police institution started having problem with Police Service Commission. And up to today, that problem has not been sorted out, and the recruitment has not taken place. And something with the military. There was a time when the Chief of Army Staff was not in talking terms with Chief of Defense Staff under President Muhammad Buhari. How would they now operate? Now we have a new sheriff in town under President Tinubu, and the problem still persists. That means there is something that needs to be done that has not been done.
Barrister Friday Nzako, a couple of security analysts believe that
availability of resources, mineral resources in some of these places are what is fueling the insecurity.
Barrister, the resurgence and consistency of this is beyond alarming. In a particular state, two major heavy attacks with the loss of lives in that particular axis. Are you telling me that there is no political undertone to this? The presidency and some supporters of this administration believe that this is a sabotage, just like what happened during the administration of former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, where supposedly some oligarchs did not want him to contest for a second time because they believe that if he does that, he'll be the first president that would have been in charge for 10 years. And that so they deployed insecurity to make his government incapacitated. Well, they're saying that the same thing is what is going on, partly because they feel this administration has not been paying tidings to some certain oligarchs whom supposedly they feel some agreements have not been met with. Do you think that is the case? Or do you think our security agencies are underwhelmed? It's a matter that seems to be plaguing a lot of Nigerians as to, could there be an underwhelming factor attributing to this case? Or could it be that there is a situation where the organization or the presidency may not be able to handle this matter? I'm trying to reconnect with Barrister Fred Nzako because we've actually lost connection with him. There are political permutations about what is going on right now in the country concerning insecurity. The president has not returned from Paris, France. I think in a few days he's meant to return, while he's trying to think of overhauling his cabinet and seeing which of these certain sectors within his cabinet needs to be rejuvenated. But in the process, the state of insecurity, hunger in the land, a couple of economic downturn, the supporters of this administration feel that there is, sabotage ongoing, and that if it wants to continue, then maybe force will have to be employed. But a situation where force is basically what would be employed, who should they target? That's basically the situation. Who should be targeted in this particular melee? And also, in considering the factors that caused this, could it be that there is a security breach? Security breach in how the presidency supposedly has handled issues concerning security in the past. While Nigerians are waiting or supposedly dying before the administration decides to wake up from its slumber or activate whatever strategy they need to employ, what should be the modus operandi now so a recurrence does not occur? Just last week in Akure, farmers going to their farms early in the morning were slaughtered by supposed terrorists or herdsmen attacks. The other day too in Borno State, there was a bomb attack. 2 weeks ago in the same Akure, there was also killings by Fulani terrorists somewhere in Ondo State. So the question is, at what point will it be enough for the federal government to do something as soon as possible to ensure that these does not continue?
Well, there's a lot of responsibility lying at the foot of the federal government because after all, the essence of government is for the protection of life and properties of the people. So it's absolutely enshrined in our constitution. Now, when there is failure of governance, when there is failure of the actions of the security operatives, it will naturally lead to a lot of conspiracy theories. Such conspiracy theory now includes political issues, whereby some people are now feeling that President Tinubu's second-term agenda is the target of the incessant insecurity. Mm-hmm. But even when Buhari was in power, there was massive insecurity in the land. So one could not very easily wish it away and say, oh, it's because it's President Tinubu. It's because certain things that need to be done have not been done. And basically, the insecurity in Nigeria is tied to the economics of the exploitation of mineral resources in those regions. This has been aptly amplified by a lot of security and intelligence reports that because of the natural resources under the soil, the costly and expensive internationally sought after mineral resources under the soil of the northeast and the north central, that is what has fueled this massive insecurity. At least the issues about Boko Haram insurgency was actually examined in that regard. So the natural thing government should do is, how do you ensure that this exploitation does not turn to a problem for Nigerians? Zamfara state is the poorest state in terms of financing. but it is one of the richest states in terms of solid mineral resources under the soil. And it is such a state that has been under intensive criminal actions by terrorism for a very long time. And same also with some of these other states. So we must look at the economics of terrorism. We must look at the nexus between solid mineral resources in these places and the terror that the people are experiencing. And government must do something about that. But to wish it away, I tell you, that will not happen.
Barrister Fred, the president's special advisor on policy came out to quickly address Ali Ndume's when he complained about lopsided, or what do you call it, lopsided appointments that does not represent federal character. This same person came down to denigrate Peter Obi, coalition members, and obviously speak more on the president's ability to be better or possibly ahead of 2030 or 2027. But we have not had them address the situation with the deteriorating security in the country. What does that tell you is the priority of the administration?
Well, the priority of the administration, it may be different from the priorities of the people. And may be different from the priorities of foreigners who are benefiting from anything that is going on in Nigeria. Don't forget that the rat at home told the rat in the bush that there's fish in the fireplace. So anything that is happening to Nigeria has both local and international collaboration. And it is the duty of government to find that out. When foreign powers wanted to help Nigeria, information has it, news has it, that the actions of the Nigerian agents, the actions of Nigerian security operatives was what scared away these foreign collaborators who wanted to assist in bringing safety to Nigerian people. Who are we now dealing with? We have joined a multinational joint task force, whereas that combined at the upper Lake Chad Basin. Today, the two countries out of the three that formed that task force, Nigeria, Chad and Niger Republic, have gone their way, leaving Nigeria to their own game. Meanwhile, when you go to Chad and you go to Niger, they are safer, they are more comfortable, they are more secured than the aspect of than that flank of Nigeria. So meaning that Nigeria is just a big for nothing country that cannot save our people. And that is extremely worrisome because we are big and we must deploy our huge resources to saving our people. Otherwise, our bigness will just translate to unnecessary elephantiasis of the legs that has not allowed the leg to move far. We must do something about the safety of lives and property of the people of Nigeria.
Barrister, Nigeria's 23 electricity capacity generation companies have issued a stark warning that they may be forced to shut down operations as a result of deepening financial crisis plaguing the power sector. According to them, it's due to unpaid debts, which now exceed 4 trillion naira, and it has made it increasingly difficult to guarantee consistent electricity supply across the country. Barrister, before now, we've been experiencing inconsistent electricity supply in some areas, some regions across the country. There is no electricity at all. Even in urban cities, no electricity at all. So is this an excuse for an upcoming national blackout where they will say because persons have not paid, then that is why there is a national blackout?
Well, we all know that our electricity supply and our electricity system in Nigeria is not just low, but very abysmal. It is unfortunate that after spending over $50 billion on electricity, we have not gone beyond 6 megawatts of energy. At best and at most 7. And it will now decline again. So we have been oscillating between 4,000 megawatts and 6,000 megawatts of electricity supply for a country of over 200 million people. Whereas our contemporaries in Africa, I'm not talking about advanced countries of America and Europe, our contemporaries in Africa can boast of over 80,000 megawatts of energy, serving a population of less than 50 million. So it simply tells you that we are very, very far from development. And the issues are so many that it is not just one. Yes, the other day you saw some soldiers went to harass distribution
Yes.
company.
Yes.
All right, that tells you that even the government and government agencies are owing. They don't want to pay. It has become a very terrible habit that it is only the people who are less endowed, that are responsible people that pay electricity bills and other bills. The big men in Nigeria, a lot of them don't pay such bills. A lot of them even don't pay adequate commensurate tax from what they earn. And at the end of the day, it becomes a round-robin game whereby government will be complaining, the people themselves will be complaining. In all of this, Esther, the complaints will continue until we restructure Nigeria. I can never stop saying this. If we don't restructure this country, these complaints will never cease, because Nigeria is built on underproductive capacity and built in a way that there is so much injustice, so much lack of equity, and there's so much attribution to all manner of people. So we need to begin to heal by ensuring that we put the structures right. Otherwise, I tell you again, the complaint will continue.
Barrister Fred Nzakwe, I want to say thank you so much for giving us your time and giving us your insights into some of the issues right out of the World News at 6. I simply do appreciate your input.
Many thanks.
Thank you. And now to wrap up here again are the top stories. You had in a very recent development, unfortunately, 45 persons killed in fresh Plateau attacks. Genco's warn of nationwide blackout as 4 trillion naira debt threatens power supply. Organized labor laments economic hardship to renegotiate new minimum wage. Rivers Administrator Ibas demands refund of 300 million naira over NBA shift of conference. And in a very recent development, however, Atiku Abubakar has discountenanced disagrees as Presidency dismisses U.S. court order on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Meanwhile, the PDP has fixed date for National Executive Council meeting. National Convention gives Diri Fintiri others fresh appointments. That's a wrap on the World News at 6. My name is Esther Wachuku. Good evening and thank you for listening.